Uh, well, happy Memorial Day, everybody out there, and may your families be blessed today. And let's remember all of the men and women in uniform today that are still standing on the front line of freedom for our nation. And also, let's remember the fallen, those who stood for us, those who fought for our nation, and for really for the world as well. When you think about World War I, World War II, and on and on. I mean, this was really about protecting the world and keeping us democracy free, but also for saving our nation so many times. We want to remember all of them who gave their life, the ultimate sacrifice on this Memorial Day. Thank you so much. All right, we have some breaking news. Oh, by the way, the Steve Quayle slides are going to be posted this afternoon. Brock Begley is going to come back in here. We're going to do the post-edited one. So what we did was we gave you yesterday. I was live with the interview with Steve Quayle, and then we posted the broadcast with editing in it that didn't have the Steve Quayle slides of the findings in Mexico. We're going to be posting that this afternoon so that you'll get to see all of that. Okay, so that's coming this afternoon. Now let me just tell you what's going on in Israel, and they are phenomenal pictures. Here's what's going on in Israel. Unbelievable here, but we may be 2 days away from a brand new prime minister and a brand new government, a left-wing leaning government, removing Benjamin Netanyahu and the right-wing conservative government out of power in Israel. This, of course, could change the course of the prophetic, it actually could move the prophetic prophecies of the Bible even faster toward the coming of Jesus Christ. And I think this is very important, and I want to make this known that no matter which side you are on the political spectrum doesn't matter as much as what the prophecy does. Does the prophecy move slower or faster with changes? I believe it makes it go faster. I personally would rather see Netanyahu remain in power, and because he's so protective of Israel as a nation. But it doesn't matter what I like. It's what is going to happen according to prophecy. And it appears that if Bennett is put in, he will move the prophetic needle closer to the coming of Jesus Christ. Now, I'm going to share with you a couple articles. There's two different perspectives of the new incoming prime minister if they finalize the deal. And there's still a possibility that Netanyahu will somehow hang on to power in these next 2 days. If he does, there'll be another election. So hang on. Here's what we got. Let's look. Here's the perspective of really of Naftali Bennett, who would be the next prime minister of Israel. He's he was formerly the chief of staff for Benjamin Netanyahu a long time ago, and the former defense chief for Benjamin Netanyahu, and was an ally of Netanyahu from the conservative perspective of the government. But it looks like to me Naftali Bennett is a chameleon. He can change his colors and spots, whatever he needs to do to gain power. Naftali Bennett has moved a step closer to replacing Israel's veteran prime minister, Benjamin Netanyahu. Bennett is a multi-millionaire, former tech entrepreneur who made a name in politics with right-wing religious nationalist rhetoric. This 49-year-old, who has made pitches to far-right voters throughout his career, leads the Yamana Party, which has called for Israel to annex parts of the West Bank. This firebrand politician who has not shied away from controversy, Bennett is an ultra-liberal on the economy side and takes an aggressive line against Iran. But he shares his ideology with Netanyahu and has served in several of Likud's leadership governments. And in recent years, however, the two have become increasingly opposed of one another. And on Sunday, Bennett said he would join a governing coalition that would end the Netanyahu 12-year rule as prime minister of Israel. He agreed to join the centrist party a centrist leader, Yair Lapid, in a coalition government to remove Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. Lapid is offered to share power, letting Bennett serve as the first prime minister in a rotation where Bennett would be prime minister for 18 months, and then Lapid would be prime minister for 18 months. Now, this former Special Forces commando, Naftali Bennett, is the son of a U.S.-born parents, and he lives with his wife, Begley, and 4 children in the central city of Israel in Ra'anah, not Ramallah, Ra'anah. Okay, so that's a totally different place. He entered politics after selling his tech startup company for $145 million back in 2005. And the next year, he became chief of staff for Netanyahu, who was then in opposition. But after leaving Netanyahu's office, Bennett in 2010 became the head of the a lobbyist group for Jewish settlers who were living in the West Bank. He then took politics by storm in 2012 when he took charge of a far-right Jewish home party, which was facing annihilation politically. He increased his parliamentary presence fourfold while making headlines with a series of incendiary comments about Palestinians. Now, in 2013, he said the Palestinians, terrorists, should be removed and not released. He has courted controversy on several occasions, once stating that the West Bank is not really part of Palestine, and that there will never be, he said, a Palestinian state. Now, that was what he said in 2013. That is not what he's saying today, as Naftali Bennett looks like he can be a chameleon. Let me tell you another perspective of him. This one coming from Fox News. That last one, that's a perspective by Al Jazeera. Here's what Fox News says about the situation. They say Israel's Prime Minister Netanyahu fires back at the coalition effort to put him out, calling it the fraud of the century. It says Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is in hot water after the leader of a small Yamina party said he would join with Netanyahu's opponents to oust the country's longtime leader. But Netanyahu is already firing back at what he calls the fraud of the century. Netanyahu's accused Naftali Bennett of the fraud of the century and says Bennett only cares about himself and could give power to a dangerous left-wing government. Netanyahu said he had made incredible offers to Bennett to keep him on his side, according to reports. But Sunday's announcement by Bennett is a key step toward ending Benjamin Netanyahu's 12-year rule as the prime minister of Israel. A lot of times you heard the term King Bibi, as he's been the longest serving prime minister in Israeli 73-year history. Now, in a nationally televised news conference, Naftali Bennett said he would work to form a unity government with opposition left-wing leader Yair Lapid. It's my intention to do my utmost to form a national unity government along with my friend Yair Lapid, so that, God willing, together we can save the country from the tailspin and return Israel to its course, said Bennett. He said he had made the decision to prevent the country from sliding into a 5th consecutive election in just over 2 years. They have until Wednesday deadline. They have 2 days to finalize this deal. In a statement Sunday, Benjamin Netanyahu issued a desperate appeal to Naftali Bennett to avoid the temptation of joining his opponents. He accused Bennett of deceiving his voters and abandoning his nationalistic principles, all in order to just become prime minister at any price. And in order to form a government, a party leader must secure the support of 61 seats which was the majority in the Israeli parliament known as the Knesset, because no single party controls a majority on its own. Coalitions are usually built with smaller partners. As leader of the largest party, Netanyahu was given the first opportunity by the country's figurehead president to form a coalition, and that would be Rivlin Reuven. But he was unable to secure the majority with his traditional religious and nationalist allies. Thus, President Rivlin Reuven turned to Yair Lapid, who had come in second behind Netanyahu in the fourth election. Lapid then made a move. He went to Bennett and said, "Why don't we team up together?" Even though Bennett is a conservative, and said, "Let's team up together, get rid of Netanyahu. You can be prime minister. Bennett, you can be prime minister for 18 months. And then Yair Lapid would become prime minister for the next 18 months. What does that mean, folks? That means you would have a Naftali Bennett joining the other side has become what Netanyahu calls the fraud of the century, or a chameleon. All right. He's completely just going to change his colors just to get in position, according to Netanyahu. Now, he would be prime minister 18 months and then be removed, has to step down and let Yair Lapid become the prime minister. And Lapid would then be a real far left-wing liberal in Israel in charge with a liberal government, which really could become part of the parting of the land. Here's the deal. Bennett said he would never part the land all this time, and maybe he'll still hold true to that, but he would only have 18 months. Then he would step out and Yair Lapid would take over, and he is all for a two-state solution. Meanwhile, President Joe Biden has repeatedly said that a two-state solution is the only solution to the Middle East peace, and that parting Israel's land is essential to that. And so we know where Biden stands, along with Anthony Blinken, the Secretary of State of the United States of America, and Vice President Kamala Harris, all of them, and John Kerry, who's working as the climate czar, and Susan Rice, who writes all the speeches and works real close to President Biden, and on and on and on and on in this very liberal government. Pete Buttigieg, another one who said two-state solution is the only solution. I mean, that entire cabinet has that mentality. So if Biden is still president for the next 3.5 years, and this new left-wing liberal government gets in for the next 3 years, there is there will be about an 18-month window after Bennett's out of office and Lapid comes in, that Lapid and Biden may go forward with the support of the United Nations and the support of the European Union and the support of the Pope of Rome, the Vatican, and the support of the Arab League, and try to take what already was started as the Abraham Accords of people building a normal relationship with Israel, but then adding into this covenant more nations, and they could confirm the covenant by parting the land. It's very possible that in this next 36 months, you may see a two-state solution get signed between probably Joe Biden and Yair Lapid, with Bennett carving the path for the next 18 months. This is why just listen to me, this is why when Anthony Blinken went to the Middle East and met with Netanyahu and then with Mahmoud Abbas on the night of the blood moon, just after an 11-day war, and he's saying peace and safety. This is why I call this the blinking blood moon prophecy. And it really is. Don't blink, because the Antichrist might be here in a moment. And that means Jesus Christ is certainly on his way. Don't be left behind, folks. We're living in the last days. Give your life to Jesus Christ. It's almost over. Now, this afternoon, Brock is going to come back down and meet with me, and we're going to put together the graphics that Steve Quayle sent us in a smaller video with all the graphics for you, okay? And that way you'll be able to see those, all right? So we'll let you know more about that this afternoon. Anyway, God bless all of you. I love all of you guys. Give your life to Jesus Christ. Get saved and get ready, okay? And live in joy and have some joy today with the family, all right? God bless America. Thank all of our men and women in service and those who paid the ultimate price for us for freedom.